So we're going to ask you in a good way, my grandfathers, if you would please help those that are maybe feeling not well today, a little ill, but also look after those that are having a tough time. They're struggling, recent loss of a loved one, in that state of mourning that we always look at our people and understand their needs at that time. So in that way, we understand that a spiritual energy, they may be between here and that other place that we go to in their minds. So we always try to look after them in a good way, bring them back to our reality to help them understand that we love and we care for them in a good way. And so just kind of maintain that structure that is here amongst us as First Nations people. We ask you in a good way, my grandfathers and my grandmothers that helped us as we sat on the hill, that guided us when we come off the hill, that you look after their warriors. Mushiaken, Agichita Oyate Kizuya Ekta, Wichacha Bilenwia Bilena, Mushiake, Wichalapo, Okiawa, Ushi Wichalapo. And again, as we do these things, we help you to help us to understand, to realize the freedom that we fight for is we don't take it for granted. We understand those that put themselves in harm's way for the sake of this education that we're pursuing, that we can continue to help one another and become good human beings as we walk this red road of understanding. We thank you for this beautiful day. So with that, my grandfathers, we ask in a good way that you always be mindful of those that may be traveling on the road, that you return them to their home fires in a good way, in the manner in which they left them, and that they come back with stories that they can share with us as it relates to their travel. So with that, I want to thank you for the beautiful day you've given us, the snow that you're bringing to us that represents that water of life. And of course, all of those good things in our preparations for our medicines to rejuvenate themselves in a good way, for the birds to come back, for all these good things that are represent new growth. And we want to ask that you continue to pity us as common people. Oh, mitake oasi, wamakashka oasi.
Again, beautiful prayers. So what we try to do, relatives, just as a reminder, we want to encourage participation in our podcast, and we want to acknowledge some individuals that participated in the social media campaign that we have for the podcast. There's a couple items we usually try to give out, some jackets, and we have some Kindle Fire tablets. So yeah, that red jacket with the logo there, that's one of those items. And so yeah, that's our deep winter version. So yeah, we had more of like a windbreaker style one last year, but this year we have a little thicker jacket there. So with that newly embroidered logo of the college with that true buffalo chaser, so it looks pretty chill, man. So the winner of the Kindle Fire tablet is Beth Petro. Winner chicken dinner. Congratulations to Beth. And then we also have like I said, this jacket up for grabs, and the winner of that is Travis Ryder. Winner chicken dinner.
Repeat that, we didn't hear it.
Throw him some Lilies and some Akishas and Travis Ryder.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Travis Ryder.
Now we got you.
Yeah. All right. Right on. Travis Ryder and Beth Petro. Congratulations. So apologize. I got a weird, I got real res Wi-Fi over here, but hopefully we can straighten this out. We have a good program today. So with that, I want to encourage people to participate again in our podcast. Give us a like, a share, smash the love button. That's how you get your name in the hat for these prizes every week. So with that, Dex, what do you got for us? Look forward to listening to you.
Oh, echetuelo. How me taki epi ona daya hi ake. Mushi ake na hekche which ashamialo na dagunishlo waishni. But what little I don't know, I'll try to help you realize the importance of representing Ekchewi Chashabi. And when I say that, I don't mean all of the common men, I mean all of the Indians. And so when you hear old people refer to Indians as Ekchewi Chasha, that's what they mean, all Indians. So that's what long ago they used to refer to the indigenous people as Ekchewi Chashabi. And it doesn't mean common man per se, but it does mean all Indians, all kinds of Indians that believe in natural law and all that good stuff. So just kind of like that. But again, one of the things that we were saying, I'm trying to get that rip effect for those that watch Yellowstone. I'm trying to maintain that attitude of rip. Yeah, no, but when we do these things, and for the sake of not being redundant or saying the same thing over and over again, we have to recognize that there's a purpose in that as well. We're not being repetitive. And I'll share a story with you. One time I was traveling with my dad, and he would tell me this story over and over again. And so finally, I had to tell him, I said, my dad, are you getting old? Are you getting Alzheimer's? He said, why? Because that's that story you told me about 10 times now. I was just kind of wondering, are you okay? He said, sure. He said, I'm okay. He said, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm okay. And so he said, okay. He said, I'm going to probably tell you that story 10 more times. I said, sure. I said, why? He said, until you get it. He said, do you know it? I said, yeah, I know it. He said, well, if you know it, tell it back to me then. And so I thought I knew it, eh? And so I shared back with him some of the stories, skipping here and skipping there, and I didn't really know the story. And so he said, see, I seen you looking out the window, not paying attention, and all that. He said, but when I get through with this story here, and you get it, and I'm satisfied that you got it, I'll just go to another story and tell you again. And so in that the abstract learning, that experiential teaching process, that's how we do that. That's how it's done. And then we kind of take it on naturally. And it at the time, it helped me to learn the importance of listening. It used to tell me, Michinchi Gnagupta, I'm going to share something with you, so you listen. And I say, okay, and I wouldn't listen. But it in that manner in which we live our life under natural law, it all is a reflection of who our teachers are. So when I speak about some of the things that I share, I want you all to understand, it's not because I know that or I'm blessed with that. It's because of my teachers. And I always try to acknowledge that in a respectful way, that the people that shared those experiences with me to help me and enhance and enrich my life, so I could continue to go on and understand the importance of listening. That's pretty cool. And so when we do these things, it's important to recognize the diversity that exists out there as common people. And that includes Indians, non-Indians, whatever the case may be. We're just common people in reference to human beings, eh? And so just to kind of reiterate some of that prospect is we come to find that we all don't think alike, but yet you'll find people acknowledging that by saying stuff like great minds think alike, eh? Because you both had the same thought or the both understanding of this, that, or other, and you're working towards the same goal and stuff like that. But in our Indian way of life, we think differently, and we don't have sayings like that. We don't say stuff like that. We just, do. That's acknowledging that in agreement. The men will say do, and the women will say like that. And it's in reflection to the same thing that whatever the story is they're sharing with you, you acknowledge that and agree with that. And if they really mean it, they'll say, Hechetuelo. Okay? Yes, indeed. That's the way it is, and that's the way it should be. They'll acknowledge you like that. But in most cases, not to interrupt the rhythm of your speech or your speaking, they'll just say do, and then you know that they're listening to you. So it's stuff like that. The behaviorisms of who and what we are as First Nations people, and I think tried to help us understand that in the translation from English to Dakota or Lakota or Nakona, we're very deliberate in the manner in which we respond. We don't give you a quick answer like that, like most teachers want. They want to answer right now and make you try to be competitive. But our indigenous people are more deliberate because, again, what we say is what we mean. What we mean is what we say. In an attempt to get across to the people we're trying to communicate with is that Woichaki Obomani, I walk with the truth. And in that manner, you're trying to be very respectful of the information that you share. And what I said in my language is I'm walking with the truth. And so there's no facetiousness, no sarcasm. And that's what that means. I mean what I say and I say what I mean. Not telling you nothing, but giving you that understanding that being very deliberate in that manner, we watch what comes out of our mouths, eh? And we take responsibility for those words in a manner in which we were taught, eh? You always try to maintain some dignity and honor to represent, again, the integrity of who we are as a people. And you represent that by the manner in which you speak. And so when they ask you a question, you don't answer right away. They think you don't know. But in a lot of cases, our First Nations people, they're just taking time to respond because they don't want to embellish the truth. It's kind of like that. And so, like when I would listen to a lot of the older people speak, I would always like have my older brother or somebody next to me that's an interpreter. And so what they say, because I don't speak fluently, but I listen and I understand a lot more than I speak. So, but I do speak. And so in that process, I want to make sure that what they're sharing with us, that I can grasp and understand it before I know it. Okay? And that's important to us. Whereas in the non-Indian world, the linear world, you want to know it even before you understand it. Then as you know it, then you gain that common sense or that abstract learning process once you experienced it and exercised whatever theory you're pursuing and make it work for you. Then you gain that common sense from all that. But you see, what I'm explaining is understanding the diversity and the uniqueness that is based on natural law that should become an enhancement and enrichment for the sake of the growth of our children. And so as we humble ourselves to being these allegedly responsible adults, wishing to become a responsible adult, with any interaction we have with children, we want to be respectful in that manner because these are little minds, little lives that we're dealing with, and we don't want to dictate to them or be mean to them or force them to do anything, but we'd like for them to, again, pursue their own personality and share that with us. And a lot of times in a name-giving ceremony, the one giving the name will observe the child or the individual just for a little while. They observe them and watch how they are, what some of their characteristics are, and their personality, in their appearance, and in the manner in which they talk and stuff. And then from that, they'll receive their name, and that's based on observation. The reason I say that and share that with you is because let me see, like when we first come into being with a wasiichu, and what that means is the fat takers, eh? That's based on observation, because when we first come in to meet the non-Indian people, we were watching them as they went by, and I'm talking about Lewis and Clark's that first involvement with them. We were watching them, and there's about 20,000 Indians observing them from the hills and from the bush and whatnot, and they didn't know that we were there. But again, in that stealthful way in which we know, uh, they didn't realize that people were observing them, and we were. And so they were going along good at first, until they ran out of food. And they didn't know how to sustain themselves. They were eating the wrong things. They even almost starved to the point to where they ate up their horses, and then they were trying to eat berries and stuff and didn't know what berries to eat. So they got dysentery and they got sick and they were almost dying. And so then the First Nations people come and got them, took them back to their camp and say, here, eat this. And they had meat there, And so because the non-Indian people were starving and they knew that the best part of the meat was the fat, then the nourishing part, that's what they took, So Washi'ichu. And that term, that title, or how we refer to our non-Indian relatives, was because of observation, Observation. And so Washi'ichu means the fat takers. It doesn't mean greedy. It doesn't mean, you remember I said there's no sarcasm and no facetiousness in our language? No, it was something that the people observed that these starving white people were doing. They were taking the fat because that was the most nourishing part of the meat, and so they took that to kind of regain their strength and stuff. And so again, that's in reflection also of Nakota, Dakota, Lakota. I'm your ally. I'm your friend. In times of need, I'll help you. And that's what they did. And that's how we refer to ourselves in a spiritual perspective to help us understand the importance of maintaining that dignity and honor, sustaining the integrity of who we are as a people. That's why we refer to ourselves as such, will help you. And so in that process, based on observation being the best teacher, we also understood kind of their uniqueness too, And so then we start making reference to the German people. And the Germans, although they could speak English, they still maintained their own German language. So the English they spoke was kind of bad English, So our reference based on observation to the German people was Iasicha. They speak bad. They're bad speakers. And that was based on observation because they couldn't speak very good English, but they spoke their language fluently, but the Indians seen where they were trying to speak English, and then so the Germans referred to them as Iasicha, and that's translated as bad speakers, and that was based on observation. And then of course we had let's say the Cheyenne people, Shaila, Shaila, and that's in reference to the paint that they had, the red paint on their face. And then the Cree people, we call them Shahia, and that's also in reference to the paint that they had on their face. And that's again based on observation. Another one that you could understand is you might want to understand is like this, and that was Chinese people, and when the Indians observed the Chinese people that were working on the railroad, that's why the Chinese were here. They were kind of captured and brought over here to work on the railroad, and they see these little Chinese people, and they refer to them as Ge Suna, and that reference, that word means that one braid down their back, and so that's based on observation as well, which is representative of, again, Wowichaki Obomani. No sarcasm, no facetiousness in our language, but based on our observation, we're going to call you what we see in a respectful way in reference to those things. So, that's what we're trying to convey during this virtual experience and during these podcasts. We're helping us all try to understand that how that lack of awareness brings forth that cultural ineptness, eh? But yet, in order for us to be culturally responsive in a respectful way, I think we need to share that and communicate that information on what helps our non-Indian relatives become more culturally aware. And again, that's where we're pursuant of those things. So that when we first started, we shared with everybody, we're not trying to teach you how to be a good Indian. We're trying to include you in this process of being able to go beyond your cultural ineptness and understand the importance of becoming culturally aware to, again, represent yourself, your family, your people, and your community in a good way of your cultural ability to be culturally responsive. Now, in that process, there's certain things like on the res that we always make reference to, and of course amongst ourselves we tease lots. I shared a little story with some folks the other day that when I first started dancing powwow, I was really teased a lot, eh? And I didn't take it as teasing. I thought they were being hurtful, but what they were doing was teasing me to include me into that circle, and so that I would develop the character to become at some point a good dancer, and which I did after I got over myself and quit being offended by the teasing. Then I started understanding it's just the way they include you in that circle, eh? And it's amazing how diverse these ways are. Got to remember now, I was brought up for 27 years as a white guy, so to speak, but also as a Sioux, because I come from this side of the reservation, because my grandmother was a Dakota. Everybody thought we were Sioux, eh? And so that's the way I was brought up in that protocol, and also I was brought up in the realm of our Wasiju relatives. I went to Catholic school and went to the Catholic faith and all that good stuff. Was really afraid and got beatings all the time for being an ignorant child. But it didn't kill me, so I'm still here. So it must have did me some good. But in that process, that's the way it used to be a long time ago. But in the manner in which I come forward, and I used to be a really devout Catholic, used to be, eh? Not that I'm not now, but that was the original style of belief that I had in the beginning. And then, of course, I quit drinking because of the love I had for my father when we buried him. That's when I quit, and that happens to be 40 some years ago now that I haven't done drugs or alcohol. And so for the love of my father, I quit that. And then I continued on in the Catholic Church, and me and a few other Indian people in Wolf Point used to have renew meetings in my house on Wednesday. And that's how involved in the church we were. I got my marriage prior to that. I got it annulled so I can get remarried in the church, and kind of like that, get the blessings of the church to involve themselves in our marriage and whatnot. And then I lived like that for a while, pretty much probably 2 or 3 years when I first started to quit drinking. And then I start getting these, for lack of a better word, visions, eh? On a calling to the cultural side of my life. And it was kind of like, as I went through and acknowledged these dreams that I was having with individuals like the late Gerald Red Elk. He was one of the initial older folks that I had a lot of respect for, that helped me overcome my fears and helped me understand the calling that was being that I was experiencing. And so once I went beyond that fear and quit calling those visions or dreams nightmares, then I start looking at them as guidance and direction. And so I followed that. And from that point on, I've been always living this way. I never denied Christianity. I don't talk against it or anything like that. But I do address the differences that exist, eh? And again, I always refer to that doctrine as a dogmatic one, which is fine. That's the way many of our people live. But I choose to live in a spiritual perspective to where it's a little bit more involved as it relates to the protocol or the freedom of spirit that evolves from within and then comes out because of the fact that I'm a critical thinker and I go out there and I try to live my life not on behalf of myself, but humbling myself to this higher power, spiritual energy to be provided with the guidance of my works or what it is that I choose to do without bringing attention to myself. Yeah, that's it. And through these accomplishments, you develop and gain strength, personal strength for yourself to go out and share that with others. And that's when I hear somebody say Wama Dakota, that's my interpretation of what they're trying to say. Lakota Hemacha, Tokeya. I'm a Lakota first, Nakona Miano. I'm an Assiniboine. And when they say that, that's how I interpret it. That's my interpretation, that they're doing everything they can without bringing attention to themselves to share their learnings with others in a humble way, without virtual signaling, without doing this, that, or the other, bringing attention to themselves. But they do that because it's for the sake of others. And that's our definition of wachekia, a heartfelt cry for the sake of others. That's that. It's not necessarily a prayer per se or a request. It's wishes on behalf of others for their sake. It's not to make me better or buy my way into heaven and keep my ass out of hell, or we have no concept of hell. So so this epitome of redemption is just that. And as we do these things, we understand the importance of like this spiritual energy winks upon man's ignorance. See? And so gaining that understanding, we continue to go on in that way. So we're not so much a role model as much as we model a role. We walk what we talk, we live what we think, and we share as commonly as we can with others for the sake of their growth. That all makes sense. And the reason I'm talking like this today during our time together is I want to make sure that we all great minds think alike thing, that we all have a common mindset, but affording yourselves the right of your own integrity as you see the center, representing the Buffalo Chasers, because you're part of the Fort Peck Community College. And then because that's an honorable, respectful thing you don't do for them, you do for yourself. That has a lot to say about self-respect, self-identity. I shared a story about a story my father shared with me before he passed away, my adopted father, Mato Pewaka. And he found it so profound that he sent me to Tobacco to come and visit with him so that he could tell me this story. And I shared it with Marty, I think, about how we don't deny who and what we are as we live here on Mother Earth, but we accept and respect whatever identity we find important. But at the same time, you don't have to compromise your dignity or your honor in that representation of what you also are. Like me, I'm part white, and I'm also part Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, a DNL. And in that prospect, my father wanted me to understand the importance of not really doing that. So hold on just a minute. I got to talk to Dr. Hello. Hey, Dr. Rosamina, I was just calling in about that reference to
Oh, okay. Since we got a little bit of downtime, I'll just share a few things. This is my 1.5-year-old Sage. He's just having a bad day, but there's a couple of things I wanted the students to be aware of, which is Indigiverse Multimedia Festival 2022. We talked a bit about it a little bit last week, but basically it's an opportunity for students to showcase their talents. What I was really trying to promote at yesterday's student assembly, the virtual student assembly, was like basically there's a $1,500 stipend where you could showcase your talents to talk about whatever it is that you want. Could be contemporary issues, or it could be historical information that you want to share. You could provide your own commentary. What we're really looking for is educational content. And sometimes we like to utilize humor. It can be serious. But I want to highly encourage students to look at that as a venue to express yourself. And I think with the stipend specifically, that would go directly to the student. Okay, so there is some stipulations that go along with that. They'll be sharing that with us, but AHEC, the American Indian Higher Education Consortium, is partnered with a few entities like Spotify, and, a couple other tribal colleges to make this event happen. And so I think April 1st is the deadline for that. And the actual event would be April 22nd through the 24th. And so what I'd like interested students to do is to just get a hold of our department over at Student Services. Me and a few other individuals kind of got the technology aspect on lockdown. We'll be able to help you out with that. But then if you have any other like the creative side, if you need to visit with individuals, and I definitely recommend someone like actually Tommy Christian. He can kind of give you some perspective to kind of help find your voice for those types of things. And then so yeah, I mean, it's just a great opportunity. You have about a month and a half to prepare for it. The next thing you know, you could have your own podcast weekly, man. You'll be like, you could have actually Tommy join your show and just. But anyways, I was just killing some time there talking about Indigiverse Multimedia Festival 2022. So, but yeah, I'll turn the reins back over. You had some good content. I just figured I would chime in real quick.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Toshka. But again, as we're moving right along here, I'm sorry, but I had a call from the doctor here at the clinic, and my hands are all messed up, and I'm trying to get them fixed. So that was the importance of that call. So I made sure that the whole that financial follow-up is taken care of, because I got good insurance and stuff, but he needed to refer me. So that's what that was all about. So it was very important for me. I'm a golfer and I need to really kind of keep my hands in good shape. So anyway, but going back to what we were talking about before, and again, based on this diversity that is represented by everybody involved, all humans, the two-legged, Huhu Nupa Henia, you are a two-legged, that's a human being. And that representation in that Changleshka, that circle of life. And then as we look towards the center, we are afforded the right of our own integrity. And it's very respectful for you to maintain that integrity as you see it, because the Creator give us all the ability to be critical thinkers. And if you understand, just to be dealing with the reality, if you understand the Industrial Revolution, okay? And then after that Industrial Revolution, how the educational system was created, okay? These institutions of education, how and why that was created. Well, that really promoted not critical thought for sure, but somebody that was living by bells and time elements and little boxes and squares that you go into and whatnot, has little or nothing to do with abstract learning, but it's more formalized in where you have to do this and do this. And when the bell rings, you go to the next one, go to the next one. But what that was doing was really perpetuating a good factory worker. Think about it. And so in that, as we do these things, most of the people, because we're not all doctors and lawyers and professionals, and most of are just common people. And so they wanted to bring out not managers per se, but little worker bees, somebody that would go out there and not be critical thinkers, but just follow along. But now, based on our ability for our worldview to be expanded the way it has been, before our worldview was just the Missouri River, Wolf Creek, and the bush out there and just playing around. That was our worldview. Well, now at a touch of a button, our worldview is just that. We know what's going on all over the world. And again, so we have to be aware and concerned about all of this information that's coming in, and what do we do with it? How do we apply it? How do we process it? And so in that's where your personal integrity, the integrity that is yours, is in competition with so many more people because of your ability to have a worldview perspective. And so from that, you understand, as human beings, we're very naive until, of course, we understand the importance of acquiring that knowledge, assessing that common sense that goes together and bringing them together. And again, then they say a ganache maya, that you're easily fooled. They don't let them fool you. Now, because humans are that way. They always have good thoughts, good wishes for anybody, that they don't think somebody would come and fool them. Well, it's just, that's the way the world is evolving now. And so you get a lot of these conspiracy theories that are going along with this access to social media, and you don't really know if they're telling the truth or not, But if it comes from an Indian, you can bet your last money and he's speaking his language, it's the truth. But when you speak English, you could really BS somebody and get away with it, I'm good at English. But and in that way, that affords us an opportunity to look inwardly and accept the fact that diversity, our non-Indian relatives don't think like our Indian relatives, Now, I hate using the word Indian, but I'm just to make a point here, because it's different to translate English into the Dakota, Nakota, and Lakota language, but at the same time, vis-a-vis, it's different to translate Dakota, Nakota, Lakota into English too, and get the intent or the true meaning of what you're trying to say across without them misinterpreting what you're really wishing to live by. And that's the difference that exists there. And so we got to take this information with a little grain of salt and really, in our case, search for guidance. And we do that through our spiritual connection, through ceremony and various other things. And so we do that. It's not a magical experience. It's not a mystical experience. It's our reality on how we are afforded the guidance and the direction to kind of overcome some of the pitfalls in our life, some of the dysfunction that's in our life. We have that, and I think, and in my case, I'm a prime example of that, because I was brought up, I'm ACOA, an adult child of an alcoholic, and I overcame all those characteristics and chose to continue to live a healthy life based on the love that I had from my natural father. Well, that's what motivated me. I didn't go to AA or anything like that. I did it based on my spiritual intent, initially beginning as a Catholic and then evolving into a more traditional way of securing a comfortable way of life by the support that I was receiving. And that's where it came from. And it helped me to maintain sobriety from drugs and alcohol for 40 plus years. So again, this is something that we are not trying to push on anybody or convince of anybody, but help them understand that this behavior of our indigenous people is a learned behavior because we believe them. We didn't know that the capitalistic imperialism that they were bringing was going to be detrimental to us. And in that process, we believed what they said. We, even to the point, do you know what we call whiskey? Miniwachan, holy water, eh? Because of where it was taking our minds and whatnot. And they fooled us and said, hey, chief, you want to go on the hill and fast and not drink any water for 4 days so you get a vision? Here, try this. This will give you a vision. So the chief believed the guy that was telling him that. So he took a shot. Sure enough, brought him visions. But very in a superficial, spiritual way. That's not what this purpose we were serving. But yet they fooled us in believing that, so that individual took that back. Say, hey, look, we don't have to sit here. We get this the spiritual awakening from this, and they did. That wasn't truth. That wasn't the truth. And so again, then that all became a part of that whole process, and then how willing the First Nations people were to accepting the alcohol because of their pursuit, and then it evolved into something that, based on the lies that were shared with us, it evolved into something that wasn't very good for us as individuals. Because I personally think that indigenous people to North American continent have an allergy to alcohol, eh? And I think they'll say, well, why isn't all the Italians all drunkards and whatnot and laying around? How come all the Russians, those guys live on vodka, potato vodka? How come it's not killing all of them with cirrhosis and whatnot? That's why I think in our body and our metabolism, we're allergic to alcohol. But yet, you know how diabetics shouldn't have sugar, and that's all they do is eat sugar. my brother and my sister used to have sugar parties at my house in the morning. They'd buy donuts. Oh, Tommy, I brought you donuts. And they're both diabetic. Eh? Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to run in the bathroom, take a shower. I'll be right back out. Whole package of donuts there, eh? Those white ones with that white sugar on it. And so I go and take a shower, and I come back. I make coffees, and I looked, no donuts left. There's Bonesy and Tweety sitting there, mouth all white. And I said, what happened to the donuts? They ate them all. Two diabetics. But that's the same thing that I think our Indian people, they're attracted to that alcohol because there's a lot of sugar in there. And I think there's an allergy to it, because you see how their face is all blotched, get this big pimples and stuff like that, and how it affects your innards and whatnot. And I think it's because of allergies. And if we didn't do that, because our systems never got a time to adapt to that, like the Italians or the Russians, hundreds of years they've adapted to that sort of alcohol. And so they don't have cirrhosis. They developed a way to deal with that, and so those things. But we got to think about that. We got to understand that this way of life, the drug addiction, the alcohol addiction, is a learned behavior. And again, there's an avenue that we can approach that and redevelop the importance of family structure, family support, all those things. And again, that's what we're pursuing. I got an opportunity to really try to work with some people like my daughter Paula and Dr. Drew from the TV and whatnot, and hopefully, because they have so much experience in that, and that we can hopefully develop a way to address some of that alcoholism and drug addiction, which are symptoms of the real problem, which is historical and cultural trauma. But so this is where it's taken us. And for people, the society, the community in which we come from, if we can accept that and we all have a common mindset, look how beautiful that would be, based on that Nakona, Dakota, Lakota, buffalo chaser, Okolo Kichia. that the Piteo Yateki Kolakichia society, eh? That Wamakashka, or how do they say that? Forget how they say it in the Assiniboine, but that's if we could all get on that mindset and we're educated and we're secure and comfortable as to who and what we are, then we can be strong enough to maintain our own strength for the sake of our own family, but we can extend that extra strength that we've acquired for the sake of others as well. And that's that community perspective, eh? That's, but not worldly. We're not trying to go out and save the world or save the nation. We're trying to save our community. So we're just taking off as much as we can handle in respects to those sorts of things, and just kind of hopefully deal with it like that. So again, we have the buffalo chasers, educated people, secure people, comfortable people, and again, people that are understanding the diversity that exists here based on that uniqueness of the language and the culture and the ceremony, which can and will become an enrichment enhancement for the sake of the growth of our children. What do you think of that, Toshka? Okay.
Man, actually, Harry Potter always sharing good things, man. I'm glad you're able to get those your nape fix, man, because that golf season's right around the corner. But yeah, I know you shared a lot of good things. Yeah. There's a lot to think about. We always cover so much good information every week, and the stuff that I listen to you share with us. Sometimes it's little snippets of what we had last week.
Yeah.
So it's good. We're always keeping it rolling, and I was listening to Mihasane talk a little bit about some of the things she's experienced in her workshops and whatnot. And so there's a lot of cool things the college is incorporating into this Buffalo Chaser model, in addition to what you're talking about as well. There's food sovereignty. I think last week we shared that quilling workshop with Nahanshi Fern White Crow. At first he told me, I thought he said white bro, but then he said white crow.
White crow,
Fernando. What Bernie, so he's gonna be next month. We have that quilling workshop. So all of you that want to learn how to be a professional quillers, definitely check that out and let me know if you're interested. Limited spots are available for that. But I don't have anything else to share, Dex.
Just remind them that Indigiverges, or what you call it?
Oh, Indigiverse. Yeah. 2022 Multimedia Film Festival. Many different categories, whether it's language, culture. For those of you that isn't your jam, right? But your jam is like the science field. If you want to just do a presentation on a science project, you could submit that too.
Arts and crafts as well.
And you can do some writings and poems, whatever your thing is. But the main thing is to get it out there, right? And so, and with that deadline of April 1st, I think, and I spoke about a little about this earlier, was that the 22nd to the 24th of April, they'll have like a viewing. And so, and they're going to do it in this like a real cool virtual format. It's almost like a 3D meta space, I think is what they call it. So it's almost like you have an avatar body and you go into this, there's like a website you go to, and then you can walk through this Indigiverse space, right? It's kind of trippy, man. And you get in there, and then all of a sudden, if actually Tommy submitted one of his podcasts, you could walk over to it, click it with your virtual finger and kind of sit and watch it. But there's a whole space. So all of these tribal colleges throughout the country, not just students, but could be employees. It could be employees. And it's all about creating digital educational content from that indigenous perspective. But the cool thing that we're sharing here, when we listen to individuals like Dexter Tommy and Dexter Earl, is you can infuse that cultural content, and then that the way he talks about affording yourself to express yourself how you see the center, right? And so that's what I get really excited. I'm really passionate about that, because I think provide students an opportunity to express themselves, man. Because I think sometimes that depression or sometimes that that willingness to recluse and separate yourself from the community. Because remember, we are a community college.
Yes.
I heard someone at the college the other day tell me, "Oh, we're going to be a major university someday." Oh, I said, you know what? We're always going to be a tribal community college. And so this is the cool opportunity I think students will have, is they can participate in some cool things like this and then connect with that broader constituency of tribal college students. And so hopefully it'll broaden your horizons. And I just wanted to kind of put that out there because it's a real cool opportunity. So, but other than that, that's all I have to share. Anything else, Dexy?
I just want to thank everybody for listening to me, and hopefully as we do these things, we'll have some questions in there and we'll answer them next time too, and all that good stuff. Congratulations to the ones that won the 2 items that we have up, but stay connected. Hook us up. Hey,
be on the lookout. Hoka, there's 3 or 4 of you. I have your jackets. We'll be mailing them out on Monday. That would be Eileen Little Ghost. We got actually Earl Bullhead's got one coming because he's on this podcast, and then Mr. Kevin Tatchin. Yeah. That's how you say his last name. So those will be out next week, and then so with that, I want to again thank you guys for joining us.
Hey, hi, yeah, hey.